Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Eric from the company Witbe. I think I'm for the last session. That's it. So I'll try not to take too much time. So we are really proud to be here today and be part of Divitel lab, the new lab, which goal is to automate and ensure the speed in delivering new services and new releases. So I will speak a little about speed. Try to. Oops, this is this one. Okay, quickly about Witbe. So we are a French company established since 17 years from now, specialized in providing testing and monitoring solutions, end-to-end testing and monitoring solutions for video services, broadband, voice, and so on. We are based in Paris and also in Montreal, New York, Denver, Hong Kong and Singapore, and 150 people serving 300 customers worldwide in 45 countries. So we work with tier 1, tier 3, tier 2 operators and broadcasters, but also with banks and so on, who also care about service quality. So let's talk about the user perspective. Does this remind you of anything? DNS or connection problem trying to reach a website for video content or something else. Authentication issue. Yes, sometimes you have to type a PIN code, a login, a password, then OK, to reach a content or a UI, and sometimes it fails. Luckily, you didn't have any DNS or connection problem, any issue in terms of authentication, but you select your content and you have a 404 error, for example, saying, oops, sorry, the stream is not available. And you've been lucky up to then, but you press play, the video takes a long time to start, and it's rebuffering. And you enjoy. So, do you want me to be your customer? You shall provide me with all of this. Live TV, of course. This is something quite common, okay? But now I want your VOD or SVOD catalog. I want replay because my children don't watch any more linear TV. But I also want to control because I've missed the beginning of the football match, so I want time shifting, start over. I like recording, so PVR and PVR, I don't care. I want to be able to record and play later. But I like the multiple screens. My children too, so provide me OTT services. But your content is interesting, but I might also be interested in having third-party contents. Here are some names, but there are hundreds of content providers. And as an operator or cable company, you may have to provide me all this and ensure this is working, so major challenge. First of all, when we talk about the user, we talk about interactions. Interactions with the service is the beginning of everything. Before reaching a stream, you have to launch the UI, browse the UI, and so on. So send requests, receive answers, and so on. So it's all about user transactions. Oops, sorry. Continuous innovations, of course, and this is related to speed. You have to launch new services, new releases regularly and not every year. So we talk about continuous integration. So you have to deliver more and faster, always more and faster. On the multiple screens, and when we talk about multiple screens, more and more we talk about cross-devices transactions. Basically, I'm at the office, I will program a record through the website or through my iPhone on my set-top box, okay? And when I come back home, I will watch the content. I have to get sure that this type of transaction works. And last but not least, in terms of challenge, more and more complexity in the delivery chain. OTT services and so on, multiple networks, multiple CDN, making things harder to control. So the interest of properly monitoring the service. The goal of all this, of course, is to increase the revenues. But for that, you have to provide the appropriate quality of experience to the customer that will make him loyal to your service. Otherwise, he will churn. And when we talk about this, speed and quality management, all the services in the company at the service provider are involved. We talk about development teams, QA teams, operation teams, and so on. Everybody is working on delivering the best quality. But what we see sometimes is that people, even if they are in the same company with the same goal, don't have the same language. And sometimes what we see, so this is, I would say, a situation with the service in production. Let's imagine that we want to achieve continuous improvement and continuous integration and so on. The customer team report that the customer is complaining about the service that is not working. Have you ever spoke to a customer when he complains, he says, it's not working. What is not working? Oh, it's, I did this and it was slow. Yes, but how slow was it? This is always a question because when we talk about speed, also the speed in terms of responsiveness of the service, it's important to know what is slow. Then you ask to the people from the operation teams. Maybe they will provide some KPIs based on what they collect inside the network. Then ask to the people from quality assurance, hey, what do you think about this problem? I don't know. We tested it 5 or 10 times manually, and the service was working. Same for the development team. They might say, we've tested once before passing to the QA, and it was working. At the end, oops, sorry, it was not the right way. At the end, people don't speak the same language, and it's really complicated to get KPIs that are aligned with the customer perception. For the customer, it's available, so it works, it can proceed in transactions. It goes fast. When the customer changes a TV channel, it takes half a second or 3 seconds. This is totally different, okay? And we have to work all together. We have to be able to have targets in terms of KPIs, and that everybody can understand those KPIs, and they have to be aligned with the customer perception. Otherwise, continuous improvement is not possible, and churn is an option. So, what if you could get sure of your services end-to-end reliability before going live? This is the first thing. Get real-time information about the user experience on the most critical transactions. A critical transaction can be as simple as, I want to become a new customer. I go on your website, I fill in the form, and it works or not. This is basic. And then, critical user transaction is, can I buy a VOD? What is the purchase? When I press my code to purchase to confirm the payment, will it work or not? There are a lot of critical transactions. Then having objective and shareable KPIs understood by all the technical teams, shared by the technical teams, and also understandable by the non-technical people, because I come from the marketing in a past life, and I've been working at an operator, and when the people from the network were talking about RTT, packet loss, while I was speaking about the speed to download a web page, we didn't have the same reference. So it was quite complicated to define some targets in terms of quality of service. And also one thing that is important when we talk about speed and quality is to be able to position your service against the competitor's one. This is something really important. And also your current version with the previous one. So let's talk about the Witbe technology. So we've talked about AI. So Witbe robots are basically automated end users. Okay, so there is part of AI in it, but we are not at this point for the moment, even if it's a major investigation aspect. So what is a robot? It's like this. So it's quite nice looking. Basically, it's not exactly like this. The robot is connected to your service like any user. So if you are providing a service running on a set-top box, the robot will be physically connected to the set-top box. It can be physically connected to an iPhone, to an iPad, any type of device on any network. The robot will interact with your service. Interact. This is the key, like your customers do. So the robot will execute the user journey you will have defined, and you've got some examples in the lab upstairs. It will measure the service according to perceptual criteria. The robot will not refer to packet loss, will not refer to round-trip time in the network and so on. The robot will speak about, is my service working? Can I proceed in this transaction? This means that I have no error message. It goes sufficiently fast to not to be disappointing. Then how long it takes to launch the VOD portal, how long it takes to get authenticated, how long it takes for the video to start when I press play. And finally, when I reach the stream, what is the video quality of the stream after decoding on screen? Not by looking at the network packets, but really looking, for example, through the set-top box at the HDMI output, like a user would do. And it will do it always the same way, because of course you can ask people to do that, but they won't be able to judge the service and to work 24 hours a day. And the good thing is that this technology is used both in test automations in the lab in order to shorten the quality assurance and the testing phase and ensure the continuous integration and so on. And the same technology will be used on the field for proactive monitoring. Like this, people from the development and QA and operations and so on will be able to have the same KPIs and follow the KPIs that have been defined in pre-production, I would say, follow that they are achieved when the service is into production, and like this identify any change in the values of such KPIs. And last but not least, with the technology you can benchmark your competitors. You simply have to order a service from the competitors like any customer would do. You receive the service, the set-top box, or whatever, you download the application, you put the robot behind, and you can start measuring without asking anyone to give you some information. And this is a key point when we talk about speed and quality, because the quality I provide to my customers is also relative to the quality that is delivered by the competitors. And this is something important to be integrated in your strategy of development and service management. Normally, there should be a video because I'm talking about a robot. Okay. So just to illustrate what a robot is doing, because and in a complex environment. Typical complex environment is you have a service you want to activate on an Apple TV or a set-top box, and for that, when you want to activate it, you have also to register on a website and get some credentials from the website and put them in the set-top box to finalize your registration. And this is a great service and a great way to activate things, but this is a nightmare to be automated, to be tested, because if you consider testing once is okay, you don't talk about automation, but in that case you may face some problems. But with the Witbe technology, we can really make it simple. So what you see here is the Witbe development environment. Behind the scene, there are some robots connected to Apple TV with and also with a web browser. So we can see on the left side the scenario, on the right side what the robot is currently doing. So the robot has asked for signing to this service. Then it will go to the website. So the robot will extract using OCR the code that was on the screen, put it on the website, then get the credentials, then go back to the Apple TV, put them and this automatically. And the robot will be able to test this process hundreds of times, because when you test once, most of the time this is not enough. And of course, the goal is to check that this process works, but also the responsiveness and the video quality. Oops, I've pressed the button. Okay, let's do it faster. So I was talking about KPIs, because at the end, what we want to provide you is KPIs. When we talk about live TV, channels availability, visual channel change time, the video quality on screen, the video MOS, including the pixelation and so on, working in real time without reference signal. When we talk about VOD, we talk about portal availability and responsiveness, video startup time, purchase process availability. Something really, really important when we talk about VOD and SVOD and so on is the fact that the assets that should be available in the UI are actually available. And robots are also designed to test that the entire catalog is properly propagated and available, including the content, the thumbnails, the metadata, and so on in all the user interfaces. Same thing for the replay contents. For the time shifting, one thing that is important is to check that it's available. I can fast rewind, and the most important is when I press play, will the video start immediately, or will it buffer for seconds and seconds? Oops. Sorry. Okay, that's okay. For the DVR, can I program a record? Is the UI responsive and so on? For the OTT applications, what is the application or website launch time? What is the authentication time? Can I authenticate? What are the user response time? Do I face rebuffering? And the good thing is that this works also with the applications and services of your competitors, or the applications and services you are embedding in your set-top box. So all the services you provide can be tested and measured on any device and any network. Of course, the iOS world, including Apple TV, iPad, and iPhone, Android smart devices, any media player or set-top box, and web browsers. At the end, let's go back at the beginning. These KPIs will be measured at each step by the development and QA team. So this is typically what we have in the lab here. So the idea is that people from the development, people from the QA will test and automate the test on the releases before going live. The robots installed on the field will also continuously monitor the services in order to provide real-time information, alerts, and KPIs to operation and service assurance teams, and also report to customer care and the marketing teams. This really ensures continuous improvement, but also this ensures continuous integration of the services, because you have to go fast. So testing all the way, going into production, testing, monitoring. So this is a circle. And at the end, this is a condition to ensure the customer satisfaction and to ensure the growth in revenue as it was expected. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Eric, thank you very much. Well, you've all seen upstairs how it's implemented. It's very great. What I always like about the robotics, you know, you made it very visual with it. Oh, just keep this one. I think you have to answer something.
Yes, maybe.
That if you look at the robot, you know, it's about change from human machine to machine interaction, and it's going much faster and with higher quality if it's going about machine interaction, if you compare it to machine-human interaction. So that's changing a lot. And I can understand that it's also changing the deployment cycles, and so you can do it continuously. But a very important question I have, if you talk about speed, and especially if you talk about acceleration, and if you talk about exponential growth on technology, how does this acceleration kick into your line of business? I mean, if you can deploy continuously, it's still a process which goes faster with higher quality, and then the acceleration kicks in. What has happened?
So, on our side, what we try to do is making things always easier and faster to test. This is one thing that is really important for us to improve the user interfaces, to create the scripts, the user journeys, and so on, in order for our customers to really concentrate on getting the results rather than creating scripts and so on. And in our daily activities, we apply the same approach. The Witbe tools are used to validate the Witbe tools. This is something, and we work in continuous integration, and we use our tools as well as other tools of the market, depending on the needs for testing, in order to improve our ability to deliver fast and faster. Yeah. Does this answer to your question?
That does answer it enough. I just want to know if there's anyone else in the room. Oh, look there. I give you a mic. I don't know where the box is, but I think somebody took it away.
Okay. I have a question. How do you do your robots interact with the devices? Is it infrared, Bluetooth, over the network?
So when we talk about media players or set-top boxes, we can interact with infrared, Bluetooth, RF. Some players, for some customers, we also interact with through Ethernet. Okay. But basically, you can imagine the robot, if we talk about the big screen, so the set-top box, you can imagine the robot, it's both the big screen, so the TV set, it's connected in HDMI, okay? Mm-hmm. So it receives it's connected to the set-top box with HDMI. And it's also the human, because it's got a remote control in hand, eyes and ears. Okay.
Okay. The second question, you mentioned that you grab the HDMI output, right?
Yes.
So, and then you do some image recognition and OCR thing there? Is that
to extract values, and we also measure the actual video quality on screen after decoding. Yes.
Okay, but how can you test then smart TVs which don't have an HDMI output?
This is the very good question. Yes, for smart TV, this is different because the problem is that there is no output. So in the past, some years ago, there were some connectors like MVDS and so on, so we had to break the smart TVs, dismantle them, but there is no output. So this is the only case where we have an external camera. So in that case, we do not pretend that we will accurately measure the video quality because we do not have the direct HDMI input, so we will focus on service availability, response times, and so on, the fact that there is no frozen image, there is no all this kind of stuff. But this is a good question. And we sincerely hope that there will be something like standardized output on connected TVs, because this is a major subject for our customers.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah. Okay. Can I get the... Yes. Oh, sorry, no, you need this one. I'll give another one. We've got plenty of them now in the room. Ah, there's another one, and the orange one is also there. Ah. There you are.
Rudy Bühler from Quickline. I have a question. We have heard several times that we need to speak the same language. I expect that you speak as well the same language as the former presenter Agamo. So I would like to see the same quality of experience measures or the scaling. Is that something which is the case? And if not, maybe could be. Is there some standardizing going on that will be aligned?
This is a good question once again. Agama and Witbe solutions are complementary. We don't look at the same things. The goal of both technologies is the same. Measure the service quality and improve it. Okay? But as we do not do the things the same way, we measure like end users. We do not know, basically I would say, we don't know what is a network. When we are behind the device, we simply measure it. So it's complementary, but the KPIs won't be the same. And this is a role, in that case, of the system integrator like Divitel, when deploying a monitoring solution or a QA solution based on those two complementary technologies, to provide you with the KPIs that you really need, and which can be a kind of synthesis of both Agama and Witbe KPIs. But when you have a different approach, you can't. When you don't measure the same things, you can't have the same KPIs.
But to some extent, you measure the same things. You measure how long it takes until you can set up a nonlinear session. You measure the end quality, the video mods, for example. In Agama, you have a quality of experience parameter, which is green or red. And if I have Witbe for quality testing of the new home gateway client, for example, everything is excellent as it should be. I would expect that that would be reflected in Agama system as well in green. Quality experience measures perspective.
I assume this would be the same. I assume this would be the same. On our side, we are on the service side, okay, on the edges, on the service side, evaluating the service like the customers do. Agama will see things from inside the device or from inside the network. So the measures, the results are correlated, but sometimes we can see that it seems not to work very well in the network, but due to correction mechanism, to all this kind of stuff, the service is correctly delivered to the customer. This also can happen, but I think that KPIs tend to be aligned, but these are really complementary solutions, and that's why any project for service assurance and monitoring shall rely on both kind of approaches.